At this point, we've done some basic scanning, and we've also done a little bit of advanced scanning with Nmap. One of the other capabilities Nmap has is we can do things like write scripts that Nmap can execute and do some more advanced things, and maybe do things like probing open ports or checking for the existence of particular web applications. This is something that Nmap can do based on the ports that it finds. So scripts with Nmap are actually written in the language Lua, and I've got a script here that we're going to use and just see whether we can find the WordPress login. So there are some components of scripts that are required by Nmap, or just components that Nmap makes use of. So here's the description here, and we've got an author and a license and some categories. I don't actually have the categories set. There is a categories variable here as well. So we're setting up some requirements. These are different components that the script is going to use. So we're going to use an HTTP module, a short port, and then standard NSE. And NSE is the Nmap scripting engine. So we're going to use a port rule that is going to make use of HTTP. And so if we find one of the standard HTTP ports open, we're actually going to call this function. So in the action, which is what gets run when the port rule gets triggered, we get a variable here that says the URI. I'm setting the URI here. So I'm looking for /blog/wp-login.php. And I'm going to check, first of all, here to see whether the web server actually responds with something useful when it doesn't find a page. Now, many web servers will actually respond with a 200 HTTP status, and 200 actually suggests that the page was found. So if, for example, there's a custom error page, the custom error page may actually reply with a 200 status, and we wouldn't get the 404 status that we're expecting on page not found. So if we don't get the 404 that we expect on page not found, we're just going to generate a message saying that the web server error responses are unclear, and we're going to execute. We're not even going to bother running the script. So in order to check whether the page is there or not, we've got this line here where we're calling the HTTP head request, and we're calling it on the host that was found and the port that was found, and then we're going to use this URI string up here. So if we get a response and that response status is 200, then we're going to return a string that says WordPress login page found, and we're going to give the URL of that WordPress login page. So I can actually run this script now. And now I'm going to say script WordPress, and then I'm going to give it a web site here. So we're going to run Nmap. We're only going to check port 80. You can see here we're only checking port 80, and it's going to run the script. So we found port 80 to be open, and you'll note this is where the message that we created in the script is actually called, and it says WordPress login page found, and right here's the script that was used to generate this message. So WordPress login page found, and here's the URL where we found it at. So the scripting engine actually gives us a lot of capabilities to check for different things using Nmap without getting into more complex vulnerability checking tools. We can write our own scripts to do custom checks for various things in order to make some determinations as to what we may do next as a result of just looking at the Nmap scan.